All right. So today is a new recipe. You haven't seen it yet. Chicken piccata. You got it in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this dish is Italian piccata. Has the capers, has lemon flavors. It's a nice go out to Italian food kind of dinner to have. And it's also pretty easy to make, fast. And it lends well towards being healthy because it's quick and you can substitute the regular 000 flour with this kind of stuff, the oat flour and that sort of thing, and it still tastes pretty good. A lot of times you'll sub stuff and it's not so it's not as good as when you've had it before, but this is decent. It's not bad. We also are trying some gluten-free brown rice. Not that gluten's the big deal, but the brown rice is a little less processed, a little less the gluten protein sometimes causes triggers in people, inflammatory triggers. So we were looking for different things for you to try. There's a red lentil that's really good too. If you've had a red lentil pasta before. The tricky thing about using these pastas is they'll get gummy and sticky if you overcook them. They're not as forgiving as your flour, your process. The stuff that's processed is built so that you can be making it indestructible. That's why it's got no nutritional value, and that's why it's not good for you, because they've created it to be durable so that they can keep it on their shelves so that it doesn't go bad, so that they can make a profit. They don't care about you. What? Whole wheat pasta is also, it's a little better than your refined. And if you find one that's got more fiber in it, better for your gut. I mean, I'm not bagging on wheat. I like wheat. It's good, and I eat it, but I don't eat it as much as I used to. And I'm starting to get svelte. Anyway, so we'll get some of this going. This takes about 8 minutes. The rest of this is super fast. So I'm going to start this, and by the time this is done, everything else should be done or close, because the chicken is really fast. So I got some water boiling. It says 3 quarts of water to 1 box of this stuff. But there's only a few of us today, so I'm not going to make the whole box. I'll just make half. So I'll just take it, pop it in there. Similar to spaghetti, you want to kind of keep it from sticking next to each other. Spread it out a little bit, move it around a little bit so it doesn't clump and become one big mass. And it's more prone to do that than your wheat types. So we give it a little stir. You can't see it online. Hi, online people. But here, kind of, I guess. There's that. So we get that going. We got a timer for 8 minutes. I guess we can even do that. Maybe. Timer, stopwatch, timer. Here we go. I'm going to go 7 minutes, 19 seconds, because I've been yapping. All right, so we got that going. So while we're doing that, then I have a couple pieces of chicken, some lemon. We got broccoli is going to be a side. We're going to use almond milk today. There's coconut milk on the recipe too. There's also almond flour on the recipe, as well as oat flour. Oat flour is going to have a little more. It'll be a little closer to what you're expecting with a wheat flour than the almond flour will. The almond flour is going to have a little different taste to it. It's good, but it lends well to capers, so it's tasty. But oat flour is what I got today. I had to order this Instacart because I didn't have it. But it showed up. We were able to get it. So we got that. A couple tablespoons of that. It's going to go in the recipe. The single recipe is calling for 1 tablespoon. So we're going to do, I got 3 pieces of chicken here, so we're going to triple it. So we're going to go 1, 2, and I'm going heavy, so 3. The oat flour, if you guys want to take a look at it, it's got a little different texture to it. It's got the fiber in it, so it kind of looks a little more like whole wheat. You can pass it around if you want, so you can take a peek at it. I like the flavor of it. It's really good. I like kind of hearty flavors, personally. So we're going to do a little pinch of salt. We're going to do a little bit of pepper. Okay. We're just going to toss that around a bit.
Flours are usable. so many different types.
There's a lot, yeah. There is definitely. Okay, I'm gonna give this another quick stir. Keep an eye on that so it won't eat the. All right. So we got the pepper. We got the flour. I'm gonna take a little piece of this plastic wrap like this.
Yeah, next time I go out to one, I plan on.
We're gonna lay a piece of chicken inside of there. I'm gonna get my mallet. Got it.
Yeah, Winfield is a little far for me to go.
Yeah, well, it's more like an adventure.
Yeah, we try it as well every so often.
So I put it in plastic so that when you beat on it a little bit like this, you'll see it start to spread out. But if you don't put plastic around it, it's going to be all over you right here and all over your kitchen table and everything. So this kind of helps keep the juices from flying everywhere. So we do that. Open that up. Just basically you're taking something that's about this thick, which if you're getting your real chicken from the store, it's going to be thicker than that. But this is about a 1/2 inch. I'm taking it down to about 3/4. Fills the plate better, makes you feel like you're eating more, and also makes it a lot more tender. So that's where we start. We'll do all 3 of these. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to trick yourself into thinking you're eating a lot more than you really are. Just get that portion. I think the biggest thing for me when losing weight is just not eating so much. If you go to a restaurant and they give you a 13-ounce, 20-ounce portion of something and tell you it's rude. But if you could just eat your regular portions, like this is 4 ounces, and that's enough. It'll satiate you. You just gotta eat slow and take your time with it, taste it. Okay, so yeah, you just flatten it out a little bit, and that'll give you the coating better. Tenderize it. Okay, we're gonna put a little oil in the pan. This recipe calls for a tablespoon. So that's good for 3. Let's see about that. 3 enough. So you get that hot. I like to put my proteins into hot oil rather than put it into cold oil.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't stick as bad. So if you got a hot pan, and you're putting something cold into a hot pan, then it's not as sticky. Plus, it doesn't. If you put it in cold oil, it gets all like congeal kind of, and then you don't get a nice brown.
Do you ever
on it.
want to let chicken warm to room temperature like you would a steak?
I mean, you can. I would, and I do. I mean, I can't recommend it because of health codes. They want to keep everything cold until you eat it. I've got such great gut flora because of what I eat and my fermented foods and stuff like that. I can eat roadkill and it doesn't bother me, but I can't recommend that to anybody else. So I can't say it on purpose. You kind of get the idea of what I believe, right?
I clean a restaurant every day.
Yeah, you see some goodies then, probably. Yeah, so in the restaurant, I'll eat stuff off the floor. I don't worry about it, even in the gross ones.
I will too. I'll eat out of the garbage. I don't care.
See there? Then you probably don't have any problem with your gut either. All right. My big problem is having stuff in my hands that I drive me crazy. Okay, so we got nice shimmering oil. It gets a lot, more. The viscosity kind of falls out, and you can tell it's ready to go. So you see, I just give it a little coat, a little dusting, a little dredge. If you want to use the term, toss that about. Make sure you got a good coat on there, and then it just goes right in the pan. And I usually set the first one in the pool of the oil because undoubtedly your house is not level and the things are flying everywhere. So then I just move it around. Yeah, my house, if I drop something on the floor, it rolls away. I'm kind of used to that. having oil in the pans. All right, get that out of the way. Again, I hate to get my finger. So while that's going on, I'm going to chop up the shallot. We were talking about that a little earlier. It's onion family. It's a lily family, related to garlic, related to onion. It's a little more subtle in flavor. Looks real similar to a small onion when you cut into it. A lot of them are two-piece. Oh, look, it even started. Okay. So we'll pull that off here. That's hot. More water boiling for my steamed broccoli. And I'm watching that chicken right now. A few minutes. So when you're cooking it, you can kind of see when you flatten it out like that, it'll change color around the base. It starts to get golden, you can tell. I don't like to be flipping it and flipping it and flipping it and flipping it. I just like to let it brown on the bottom first, because the more times you toss it around, the easier it is for the moisture inside to come out. So if you just let it sit, same on the barbecue, let it sit there, get that bottom seared up real nice, let it sit longer than you're comfortable, just keep letting it sit, then flip it once, and then you're done. You got a nice golden color, and then then you'll have a juicy piece of meat. It's not all bled out everywhere. The more times you touch it and bounce it around, the less moisture stays in it. So you can see it's starting to brown out. That should be a tone. I'm gonna pour this water off. Heat on this a little bit. Alright, drain the water off. I left a tiny bit of moisture in the pan so it doesn't clump up as much. This looks like it's ready to give a nice turn too. So you got a little brown on the bottom. Give it a nice turn. Keep an eye on that. Okay. Now, the recipe will call for having your oven hot at 250 degrees so that you can set this in there and keep it warm. I have that set up in the back. So as this cooks, we'll be ready for it. We'll finish chopping this guy up so we can make our sauce. Okay. And I just do a little quick coarse chop on that, flip it around. I don't get too detailed on it. You can make it brunoise if you want, but
Yeah. Roughly.
can you move? Okay, sure. You got it. So yeah, so I mean, as far as knife skills go, I just move stuff around. You see a couple longer pieces in there, I'll just move it, cut back through it, just so I can get kind of a nice dice on it. You want the pieces to kind of be similar in size, so they all cook evenly, and you don't get like little black ones and then some ones aren't kind of crunchy. So if they're all similar in size, then they all cook evenly. That's the reason you do it. Now, if you like a crunch and a soft, then you have some bigger and some smaller. You can do that. Some dishes I like to do that. We're gonna put some broccoli in now because there's only going to be a few minutes left. So I just have a little bit of water in the bottom of that pan. I just stir it up. I like mine kind of firm. I know there's a lot of people in our group that have some dental challenges, so you can cook it a little further. The further you cook it, the easier to eat, but the less nutrients you have in it. So if you cook something down to where you can eat it with a spoon, you might as well eat some toilet paper because there's not much nutrients left in it.
I like a little bit of firmness.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon I won't have that.
Good. Yeah. I mean, if you can, it's best. If you can't, it's better than nothing. So. I mean, my preferred way of eating stuff is raw. I just crunch it.
That's 7 of them.
That's
I'm
going.
working on getting dentures. I gotta wait for the insurance to approve it.
Because I'm feeding it to you guys, I'm gonna make sure it's hot enough. Usually, you cook these guys, they cook up so fast because you flatten them out. So these are already well done, ready to go. So we'll do that. I'll get my plate. There it is. So oat flour gives it a brown. It's not quite golden brown like your zero flours or your other flours, but it's a nice color. Now almond flour will be similar to that in the brown category. I got all these good bits in the bottom of the pan we don't waste. So, the dross. So we get that going back up again. And then the recipe's gonna say, put in some lemon juice. Okay, we got the we got that shallot in the pan. So we'll get the shallot in first because we got a little bit of oil left in there. We'll get that cooking. That right there was Jamie. One of the team. You wanna come get on TV, Jamie? All right, so we get that going. Stir it around a little bit. Let's see, just a little bit of oil in there, but we want to just kind of get the shallots just to kind of get translucent. So they're just gonna break a little bit. Have some moisture come out of it. You're gonna be able to smell the nice thing about shallots is their aroma is more potent than onions, but the flavor is more subtle. So as you cook it and you add acids to it, your house smells amazing. And shallots smell so good. Different than onion. Brought this close. All right, so we get this. It says a half a lemon. I don't want to stick seeds in there, so stick that out. Ooh, I stuck one in.
They really smell it. That's the shallots we're smelling?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the shallots, they got just a great aroma. They really smell good. And I feel like they're, because you don't cook them as much, because they're softer, I think you get more benefit from them. Eating. Don't try this at home.
They're like, feels good to them.
Okay. Now, usually you garnish with a lemon wedge at the top at the end of it, but we're just going to put them on here. Because we're just going to eat it and not make it pretty. Okay. Don't fall. Stuff in my hand. Yeah, ate it. All right. Okay, so we got that going. We're going to get some capers out. Tablespoon, so maybe 3 tablespoons. Now, capers are piquant, pungent. I mean, they're a flavor that is different than most things that you have. There's a lot of people that don't like them. So if you don't like them, you can go a little less, or just maybe use some of the juice. But the juice is salty, so be careful. Or you can have it on your plate and just flick them off the sides like these. Whenever I clean up after a chicken piccata dinner, I always see the person that doesn't like it, so I'll shove to the side of the plate. Okay, so we got the almond milk. Use coconut milk too for this one. Just gives a little sauce. Usually when I do this, the original way, when it's butter and oil and all this stuff, you don't add liquid to it at all. You just let the butter and the wine, caper juice, and lemon do the talking. But for this dish, and for a lot of people, they like to add a little sauce to it. So when I make it here at work, I always add some sauce, create a sauce. There's a little bit of chicken broth that goes in this one. I had made this up ahead of time. So that's there. We're going to cut the Fire on that now. That's done. Turn it up a little bit here. So you're gonna notice that this isn't gonna be super thick, sauce-wise. I mean, there's a little bit of flour left in the pan from the oat flour, which gives it a thickening. But this one, you typically don't. You just put it over kind of brothy. I have some parsley ready to go. So that's basically it. I mean, we're ready to eat. Just have to get that warm enough. I'll go grab plates. All right, rest of that. I'm gonna grab some knives and some forks.
Is this your first time in the business?
No,
No.
it'll be my third try over the last 12 years. The first set, I couldn't even bring my lips together.
Go in quickly, at least, and if not, spicily for the first one. Until it is.
Yeah.
Expect that, and it's one of those things where they're gonna have to just grind a little bit up here and put your mouse gripper there.
Oh, yeah.
You're not gonna know until it's
The first pair I had made, the adventurers told me they didn't fit properly because I lost weight.
Yeah, no.
That's, yeah. And the second pair fit better, I just couldn't do the drink with it. And so we're hoping this pair will be better. We've kind of got to be able to eat or drink them again.
Yeah.
But I surprise people because I still eat salads, I still eat steaks, I still eat potato chips. The only thing I can't bite into is a raw chunk of broccoli.
I find that when I eat an apple, instead of biting into it like this, I'll bite into it like that,
Yeah.
and then it won't fry the top and loose.
But I had to laugh about the queso off to the side. That sounds like my husband went soup or something. You'll find it. Or piece of tomato. After the part. I had a lunch today. It was really good. They had a fajita. They had squash. I would have never thought to put squash in a fajita.
So I used to live in San Diego area, and I would drive down to Baja California for lunch a lot, and so that's where I got the idea for squash. And because they grew a lot of squash down there, and they always suck it in everything.
I love
It was good.
squash. I love squash. Zucchini was one of my favorite types of. I'm gonna learn how to do that using healthy flours. Make it healthy. But
So as you're making your dish, if you find you want to thicken that sauce up a little bit, you could use a little bit of that oat flour that you had left over from
We
your
can see
resin,
what one of those tastes like.
and you just toss that in there while you're cooking it. That would give you a little more thickness if you want to do that.
I always like capers were hard.
Yeah, no, they're soft-ish, I guess. Kind of olive texture maybe.
That's brown rice noodles.
Brown rice noodles.
Wow.
That's all it is, brown rice. I don't think there's anything else in there.
I mean,
You guys want?
that's every bit as good as a wheat noodle.
Yeah, I mean they're getting better too. When they first came out, they weren't the best, but they're getting better. And like I said, the red lentil one is really good too. Organic brown rice, flour, and water. That's all that's in this. So people that have egg allergies and stuff can have it too. Gluten-free works nice for gluten-free kind of things. Oh, I forgot to sprinkle a little. I would have sprinkled a little parsley on top for color. But, I missed that. So.
I like the fact that the brown rice look and feel more like regular noodles than the
Right?
white one.
Then, yeah, because some of them are like just yummy. Not so
I
good.
definitely have to invest in myself so when I have spaghetti, I can actually enjoy noodles.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, I make this for my wife and I were on a diet where we weren't eating a lot of wheat, and she likes spaghetti a lot, so we were making this.
I've just been trying to avoid the stuff with white flour.
And that's really all you need to really focus on, because that's the stuff that's going to give you an inflammatory response.
We went out to Mexican the other night. I ordered a fajita salad filled with tortilla because they don't have wheat tortillas.
Uh-huh.
I even switched those. I switched from flour to whole wheat
Yeah. Okay.
tortillas.
Yeah.
So
That's nice.
I made a lot of changes. Especially when I started seeing the counts were coming off and my blood sugars were going down. I was like, this is working. I need to make more changes.
Just keep going, right? Yeah, your A1C should come in line. If you have blood pressure, that usually helps. Yeah, it's surprising how much your diet does for you.
I'll find out tonight or tomorrow what my A1C is done.
Pretty good. Yeah, I was pre-diabetic. I was about 30 pounds heavier 3 years ago. And my A1C, I wasn't up high yet, but it was starting to climb that way. My grandparents were diabetic, so I didn't want to play with it. So I just made a few changes too. And I mean, I struggle with beer because I really like to drink beer. So I have a little bit of that, but
Beer.
other than
Yeah.
it does. I mean, I don't drink as much as I used to. After work I'd have one, but I don't drink every single day anymore. So.
My struggle is coffee and ice cream.
Yeah.
I switched to stevia in my coffee and no sugar added ice cream.
There you go. That's a start.
The slow, the half the fat,
Mhm.
no sugar added dryer.
Yeah, as you keep going, see if you can change to non-dairy ice cream, and that'll drop your inflammatories even more. Ice cream's because sugar is your number one inflammatory. Sugar and alcohol. Sugar and alcohol are real close. Your number one inflammatories. Then dairy is pretty big, and then you get into your triglyceride type stuff, heavy, red meat that's marbled with corn and that sort of thing. And then you just keep going down the list. So, but yeah, taking care of the inflammatories is primarily what gets you feeling better, and not sore. Your body doesn't ache as much, and water weight comes off. Yeah, you feel really good if you can get regimented and work on it. I mean, nobody wants to live a terrible life where they don't get to enjoy anything. So, but once in a while you throw in a nice ice cream and enjoy it, and take the time with it. Make it yourself, maybe if you want to just spend time with it. I like to do that. Like I say, I don't know if you guys were here last time, but I've got dairy goats at home and chickens and all that kind of stuff. So we make a lot of stuff from scratch, from like real scratch. We milk the goats and make the ice cream and do all that, cheese and stuff.
What sort of fermented products do you make for, like?
All kinds of sauerkrauts,